NBC40 presents Conversations with the Candidates.
Hello and welcome once again to Conversations with the Candidates. I'm Jeff Whitaker. Between now and the November general election, we are talking with the men and women running for the office of governor, U.S. Senate, along with the state Senate and Assembly candidates from South Jersey. We'll spend 30 minutes with each candidate. We'll learn some of their background, why they are seeking the office, and most importantly, why electing them is the choice that you should make. We're also giving you, our viewers, an opportunity to submit your questions to the candidates as well. We'll tell you later on how you can participate in that. This half hour, we're pleased to be speaking with one of the candidates seeking the Democrat nomination for the U.S. Senate seat vacated by the death of Senator Frank Lautenberg. The winner of this primary, which is held August 13th, will go on to face the Republican candidate in a special election this November. And today we welcome New Jersey State Assembly Speaker Sheila Oliver. Speaker Oliver was elected to the State Assembly in 2003, has served as Speaker since 2010. She is the first African-American woman to lead a legislative house here in New Jersey. Prior to entering politics, Speaker Oliver worked as in the community service as a nonprofit administrator, and she has also taught several universities, including Rutgers Graduate School of Business Administration. Speaker Oliver, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me here today.
You obviously, your experience politically in New Jersey has been on the state level. What was it that made you decide to make that leap and then want to move on to Washington?
Actually, I have had experience at every level. I started my career working in municipal government. I served as a freeholder at the county level, and then I worked in county administration. I currently serve as the county administrator, assistant county administrator in Essex, and of course was elected into the state legislature. I have always had an interest in government. I've always had an interest in current affairs and public policies. So I really cultivated that interest as a student, and always throughout my educational years, and then when I began my work career, I always paid attention to what was going on around me, was an active volunteer in my community, and always served on boards, authorities, and commissions. I never really set out to pursue a path of running for office, but probably in the mid-1990s, Senator Cody, who was the senator of my district at the time, asked if I would run with him on a ticket for freeholder. And it was the first time I ever ran for office. I came to understand that the way you effectuate good public policy is by having a diversity of opinions and experiences on governance bodies. And that's when I got involved. I served on my local school board for 7 years, and really through that experience became dedicated to serving on these kinds of governance bodies. I often tell my constituents, people are in rooms making decisions about how much your milk will cost and your loaf of bread. And it is very important for people to get engaged in the civic and the governmental and political process.
So what is it that attracts you to want to go to Washington to take your experience thus far and move it to a national and world stage?
I think having had the opportunity during my work career to work with people in almost every county, and when I became the Speaker of the State Assembly in 2010, I made a commitment that I would visit and become engaged with leaders in all 40 legislative districts, starting down at Cape May and moving all the way up to the northwestern part of the state. I think having served as Speaker has given me a unique opportunity to understand what the needs are and the interests of constituents in New Jersey. I believe that the perch from which I sit would enable me to represent the interests of New Jerseyans first and foremost. You know, many people believe that the primary role of a member of our U.S. Congress is to address national issues, and it is. But one of the first priorities should be is to reflect the interests and the needs of your constituency. I think, having served in the state legislature, I know what New Jersey needs. We need to grow our economy. We have a changing economy in New Jersey. We need to expand opportunities for jobs. Jobs that people held prior to the recession, many of those jobs will never return to New Jersey. I have a unique understanding of that. I have a unique understanding of the issue of high property taxes in this state and how we address school funding. One of the reasons some of our communities have such high property taxes is because taxpayers are carrying the full burden of the operation of their local school districts. So I believe that if I had the opportunity to represent New Jersey as a U.S. Senator, I could focus in and plug into public policy that comes out of Washington to the benefit of our residents. And we have proverbially complained that we lack at the bottom in terms of the federal dollar that is returned back to New Jersey. We send a lot of money to Capitol Hill, but we don't get a lot in return. And I would like to make certain that New Jersey begins to get a larger proportion and return of its federal dollar.
Speaker, maybe you've partially answered this already, but obviously on the Democrat side of the ticket, there are you can't say that there aren't others qualified who are running. It's not like there's a novice. You have a couple of representatives who are already serving in Washington.
Right.
You have yourself, who obviously heads up the Assembly for the state of New Jersey, which is no small task in and of itself, and you have a mayor of a major city in the state. What uniquely, as you look to the voters here, sets you apart from them and say, you know what, I'm the one, should I win against the Republican, that should go to Washington?
All right. Yes, I do have 3 other opponents, and we're all friends, and we all have great relationship with one another. Someone indicated last week we are suffering from an embarrassment of riches in this election cycle because either one of us could adequately and very well represent the state of New Jersey. I think what distinguishes me first and foremost is that I am the only woman in this race. And New Jersey has not had a woman represented in its congressional delegation from the Democrat side for 200 years. The last time we had women representing New Jersey in Congress was Marge Rukema, who left in the 90s. She was a Republican congresswoman. Prior to her, we had Congresswoman Millicent Fenwick. Millicent Fenwick served until Frank Lautenberg challenged her and she lost. I think in the year 2013, it is imperative that there is equal access and opportunity for women to serve at some of the highest levels of government. If you look around the country and you look at the composition of congressional delegations, almost every congressional delegation in this country has women serving either in the U.S. Senate or in the U.S. House of Representatives. I think it is high time that New Jersey open up and provide the opportunity for a woman to represent it in the U.S. Congress.
We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get to some of the questions some of the viewers have written in that they want to hear your answers. So we'll be back with more with our discussion right after this.
Conversations with the Candidates, brought to you in part by the ACUA, keeping recycling easy and convenient in Atlantic County, and by Sure Crucial Care Atlantic City. The doctor will see you now for your urgent medical needs.
Music inspires, but passion makes us the best. Passion led us to build Shore Medical Center's state-of-the-art surgical pavilion and earn Plaintree designation for the best patient-centered care. It's a passion we share with our exceptional physicians, our affiliates at Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey and Penn, and as a member of the Jefferson Neuroscience Network. Most of all, it's a passion for the people we care for. Shore Medical Center, New Jersey's only Plaintree designated patient-centered hospital.
Atlantic County's recycling program benefits our environment, but recycling in Atlantic County also generates savings for our towns. Recycling reduces the need for landfilling, it saves energy and resources. One way to keep Atlantic County green is to make recycling our #1 goal. Recycling has been law here for 25 years, so whether it's at home, school, or work, the ACUA can help you set up your recycling program. Let's keep Atlantic County beautiful. Call the ACUA today.
My love for technology started when I was a child. It's just something that naturally, I guess, drew me toward a technology-driven medical field, such as ophthalmology, where my love for technology sort of blended with the ability to help people see better. That's the great thing about Horizon Eye Care. We are up to date with all the technology that's available. We offer it to our patients because vision is a beautiful gift that God gave us. It's great to be able to give people the gift of vision back. It's what I wanted to do. It's a blessed opportunity to be able to do what I do.
Now more than ever, voters want to know if candidates really have South Jersey's best interest at heart. Beginning July 7th, NBC40 brings you an 18-week series, Conversations with the Candidates, featuring one-on-one interviews with New Jersey's U.S. and state Senate candidates, Assembly and gubernatorial candidates. Conversations with the Candidates air Sundays at 8:30 a.m. and Tuesdays at 7 p.m. To submit your question for the candidates, go to NBC40.net. Welcome back to our Conversations with the Candidates, and our guest this half hour is the New Jersey Assembly Speaker, Sheila Oliver, and she is running on the Democratic side in the upcoming primary for the U.S. Senate seat that was vacated by the death of Frank Lautenberg. We've had some of our viewers write in some questions, and they want to know what your stance is on some of these issues. So our first question comes from Suzanne J. of Ocean City, and she writes, what is your stance on marriage equality?
I sponsored a bill in the state legislature, in the Assembly, in support of marriage equality. And like many Americans, I think I evolved to a position of supporting marriage equality. I think that for several decades in the United States, we have struggled with the issue. But the reality is, I think as many of us began to really hone in and listen to all sides of view, the issue of marriage equality is really a civil rights issue. And our U.S. Constitution guarantees equal protection under the law. Even though in New Jersey we enacted civil union legislation, it still does not provide equal protection under the law. For that reason, I, like many other Americans, and New Jerseyans in particular, have really voiced support of marriage equality. Everyone should have the ability to have equal protection under the law. It is a constitutionally guaranteed right.
What do you say to those who say that maybe another word should come up other than marriage?
Well, you see, that is what the national conversation is about. In New Jersey, we did enact a civil union law. And under the law in New Jersey currently, and in many other states as well, you can enter into a civil union. But civil union does not entitle you to all of the rights and protections that marriage would. Issues with estates and inheritance laws, issues with property acquisition and ownership, taxation, insurance coverages. If you enter into a civil union, you do not have the same rights and privileges in the areas that I have described as you would in a legal marriage in the state. So civil union has not quite worked in terms of providing equal protection under the law.
Our next question comes from Alex B. in Hamilton. Alex writes, given our current economic situation, if you're elected to the U.S. Senate, what would be your priorities when it comes to spending cuts?
I do believe that we have to reduce down federal spending. I do believe that there continues to be waste in our federal budget. I think that while, for instance, we must maintain a strong defense system and a strong military, I am concerned about the waste that happens in our military spending. We've all seen reports, and we have all been able to examine data where we enter into defense contracts, where we manufacture things that are never used. It's an exorbitant waste of money. As our military is getting ready to pack up and leave Afghanistan several weeks ago, we just completed construction of a $43 million building, which we will never use. I think that there are all aspects of the federal government that we need to re-examine. I believe there is redundancy in certain of the departments of our federal government, and I do believe we need to reduce down spending. I am not quite convinced that sequestration is the way to get there, because under sequestration, you do not make analysis and determination of what should be cut. The current sequestration requires that cuts just be made by certain percentages in every single department and agency of the federal government.
Do you think that maybe that's just a way to force the government, or try to force the government to do something that we may have to do in our households in an emergency situation, rather than to be able to let it linger on and on?
Yes, and there was a need for sequestration because no compromise could be reached in terms of reducing the federal budget. Sequestration was the answer. But I have often said in many of the involvements I've had in the public sector, you have to approach your decision making just like your own checkbook. And as I have served in various governmental positions, that is how I approach it. I think that the same kind of decision making you would exert in your own family finances is the same way you have to approach it if you're serving on a board of education, if you are a mayor and a local council person, a freeholder, or a member of the General Assembly.
Speaker Oliver, Michaela from Egg Harbor Township writes, what is your take on the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare? Do you support it?
Yes, let me tell you what I support. I can't put a judgment on Obamacare, but I believe the Affordable Care Act provides access to every American in terms of the provision of health insurance. We have too many people in this country that have no access to medical care. And the structure of our insurance and healthcare industry is one of the reasons why we can't have universal access. I do believe that the Affordable Care Act is going to put us on a journey of figuring out how to better deliver health services to citizens in this country. For instance, you know that the decision was just made that employers of 50 and less do not have to participate in the Affordable Care Act January 2014.
Okay, so why do you think the president put a hold on that?
I think that we have to begin to roll out the Affordable Care Act. I think the president had a recognition, given the economy just getting back on track, for many employers, small employers, for them to now have to participate in the provision of health care, 50 employees and less. This is not the time to do that. And I think that is why the president made that decision. But I do support universal access to health care for everyone.
Renee S. from Galloway writes, where do you stand on the issue of gun control? Do you think that there are enough appropriate measures already in place, or are you in favor of increasing controls?
I think that there are further elements of gun control that we can examine in this country. For instance, in New Jersey, we have some of the best gun control laws to be found. But New Jersey is very progressive, and we're ahead of the curve on that. But issues like universal background check, too many illegal guns that are being transported into our state, for instance. I think we must have some sort of reciprocity agreements with states whose gun laws are not as our own. Most of the illegal guns that are involved in criminal activity in New Jersey, those guns don't have their origins in New Jersey. They are guns that are run up the coast from the southern states. I do believe we need to examine nationally what some of the laws are. We need to look at border states. Are there similar laws that are enacted? But I do feel very strongly about the issue of background checks. I also am concerned about the ability of someone who is not mentally stable and their ability to have access to a gun. I do believe there are tightening of regulations that can happen, but I do support the constitutional right to bear arms. However, I think there are ways we can tighten up to make sure that guns are in the hands of the appropriate individuals.
We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back with more of our discussion right after this. Stay with us.
Music inspires, but passion makes us the best. Passion led us to build Shore Medical Center's state-of-the-art surgical pavilion and earn Plaintree designation for the best patient-centered care. It's a passion we share with our exceptional physicians, our affiliates at Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey and Penn, and as a member of the Jefferson Neuroscience Network. Most of all, it's a passion for the people we care for. Shore Medical Center, New Jersey's only Plaintree designated patient-centered hospital.
You're gonna love living beautiful. You're gonna love the way it feels.
The beauty of Cindy Crawford, supple leather of Natuzzi Editions, the comfort of Bernhardt and Lazy Boy, family-friendly designs from Kathy Ireland. All the best brands at the best prices. Now that's beautiful.
Two names say it all.
Raymore and Flanagan.
There's an adventure waiting for you on the Cape May Lewis Ferry. Ride the trails to Cape Henlopen State Park. Take the shuttle to historic Lewis. Shop at the Tanger Outlets or dine at Dogfish Head Restaurant. Whether you're crossing the Delaware Bay for a fun day trip or part of a long-distance vacation, the Cape May Lewis Ferry makes getting there a breeze. New for 2013, comfy recliners, early departures, and a delicious grill. Take the Cape May Lewis Ferry this summer. Your destination awaits you.
NBC40, all throughout South Jersey. Our viewers know when they want local coverage, we're the place to go. You don't live in Philly, and neither do we. NBC40, wherever you watch us, news, weather, and sports, the station where local comes first.
We're back now with New Jersey State Assembly Speaker Sheila Oliver. And Speaker, in the remaining moments that we have, and I know we've covered a lot of different issues, address to the voters of South Jersey why you believe you're the best choice come the primary in August.
I think that given the experience I've had in the state legislature as it relates to South Jersey, I have worked very closely with the Southern delegation of legislators. You know that my partner in the state Senate is Stephen Sweeney. My majority leader is Lou Greenwald from Camden County. The issues that are of importance to the 8 southern counties, I have had an opportunity to become very familiar with the economy of the southern region, with some of the priorities of the mayors and legislative leaders. The issues in terms of rebuilding the shore, you know, we've been on top of that. As we've had to address changing statutes, regulations, and even making appropriations in our own state budget exclusive of what FEMA has provided. I think that I definitely respect the experience of our 2 incumbent congresspeople on the Democratic side. They both have done phenomenal work in the Congress. However, I continue to maintain that I have the broadest perspective and handle on what is important to the residents of this state right now. We know that on the Democratic side, a quote front runner has been identified, but that front runner does not have the broad experience that I have had as a candidate. I think that having to oversee an 80-member legislative body is a lot different than for 7 years dealing with a 9-member municipal council. One of the things that we are very concerned about on Capitol Hill is the ability to narrow the partisan divide. I think that my experience as Speaker in what we call a bicameral kind of a government. I have worked with a Republican governor for the past 3.5 years. I have worked with a conservative Democrat as a Senate president, and as a legislator and legislative leader hailing from another part of the state, I think that I have demonstrated the ability to work across all partisan positions, all ideologies, and I think that I have demonstrated my ability to be a consensus builder with people from across all philosophies. I think that these experiences would bode well for the next U.S. Senator to represent New Jersey.
We'll be back with some closing thoughts for you in just a moment.
Conversations with the Candidates, brought to you in part by the ACUA, keeping recycling easy and convenient in Atlantic County, and by Sure Crucial Care Atlantic City. The doctor will see you now for your urgent medical needs.
Music inspires, but passion makes us the best. Passion led us to build Shore Medical Center's state-of-the-art surgical pavilion and earn Plaintree designation for the best patient-centered care. It's a passion we share with our exceptional physicians, our affiliates at Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey and Penn, and as a member of the Jefferson Neuroscience Network. Most of all, it's a passion for the people we care for. Shore Medical Center, New Jersey's only Plaintree designated patient-centered hospital.
I've been in business since 1996, and the last 5 years have been very hard with the downturn in the economy. I couldn't pay the business rent or my home mortgage. I used traditional banks but felt they just didn't care about small businesses. So I turned to the credit union a few years ago, and they helped me get back on my feet. Anytime I need help, they're always there for me. They care about me and my business, not for the bonus of a big bank CEO.
Like Sanjay, many are struggling. Visit bankingyoucantrust.com for help. Credit unions, banking you can trust.
Enjoy your flight.
Atlantic City International Airport. Fly ACY.
Spend your day with South Jersey's #1 news station.
Wake up with NBC40 News today in South Jersey, weekday mornings from 5 to 7 a.m. And then come home to NBC40's #1 evening newscast from 5 to 6:30.
And then wind your way down with the 11 o'clock news and sports.
All with the local weather forecast just for South Jersey.
NBC40, we are South Jersey's #1 newscast.
And that's all the time we have for this edition of Conversation with the Candidates. If you would like to submit a question for our future guests running for office, visit our website at NBC40.net and look for the Conversation with the Candidates logo. It's on the right side of the homepage. There you will be able to submit your questions, and you may hear us use it on a future edition of our forum. Again, visit NBC40.net and submit your question. Our guest today has been State Assembly Speaker Sheila Oliver. She is currently seeking the Democrat nomination for the U.S. Senate in the special primary election coming up on August 13th. I'm Jeff Whitaker, inviting you to join us next time for another edition of Conversations with the Candidates.